The sound of Ashley's laughter cut through the restaurant like a knife. That's how it started, the second I opened the door. I didn't see her at first, just heard that unmistakable laugh, the one that used to make me feel like the luckiest guy in the world. Now, hearing it, I felt sick. But then I saw her. My wife. In a red dress I'd never seen before, draped over some guy, her hand on his chest, her lips practically brushing his ear as she whispered something that made him grin. And then she kissed him. Full on. In front of everyone. That was it, the moment my world detonated. Time didn't slow down. It just hit fast forward. People turned to stare. The guy, Brandon, put his arm around her, bold as hell. She didn't even look away. Didn't even look guilty. I stood there frozen for maybe 5 seconds. Then I moved. Straight toward them. No hesitation. Not a word. Ashley was so deep in her performance that she didn't notice me until I was standing right behind her. I dropped my hand on her shoulder, and she jerked like she'd touched a live wire. She spun, her face going from flirty to pale terror in a single heartbeat. Nick? Her voice wobbled, but her eyes were already darting, calculating escape routes. Brandon, Mr. Tall, dark, and temporary, looked up at me with a smirk, thinking I was some random guy about to beg for an autograph, not the husband of the woman he was groping in public. That smug look almost made me laugh. Instead, I leaned in close, my voice low but razor sharp. So this is how you do business dinners now, Ash? With your tongue down his throat? The entire restaurant went dead quiet. Not a clink of silverware, not a whisper. Just the sound of my wife trying, and failing, to look like anything other than a cheating, cold-blooded snake. She tried to speak, but all that came out was a stammered, "Nick, I can explain." I cut her off with a laugh that wasn't really a laugh. Explain what? That you're done pretending? That you thought you could lie, sneak around, and never get caught? Her eyes flashed pure anger, like somehow this was my fault for catching her in the act. You're making a scene, she hissed under her breath, trying to fake control. We'll talk at home. That was the moment I realized she didn't care. Not about me. Not about us. Not about anything but saving face. Even now, caught red-handed, Ashley was worried about the crowd, not the marriage. Not the years. Not the promises. I turned to Brandon. Enjoy the meal. The check's on her, she's good at paying for things that aren't hers. His jaw clenched, but he didn't say a word. And then, for everyone to see, I slid off my wedding ring and dropped it in Ashley's half-empty wine glass. She flinched like I'd slapped her. Congrats, Ash. You finally got to be the center of attention. Hope it was worth it. Then I walked out. No screaming. No tears. No begging for answers. I left her there, jaw slack, mascara running, as every eye in the place burned into her. I could hear her calling my name behind me, but I never turned back. That was the moment everything changed. And trust me, it was only the beginning. I walked out of that restaurant feeling like I'd just detonated a grenade and left the shrapnel behind for Ashley to deal with. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness, from a mix of fury and adrenaline. The Los Angeles air hit me like a slap, but it was nothing compared to what I'd just witnessed. I pulled out my phone, already vibrating in my pocket, Ashley calling, then texting, then calling again. I turned it off. For the first time in 10 years, I didn't care what she had to say. As I hit the parking lot, I replayed the scene in my head on a loop. The red dress. The kiss. That look in her eyes, more annoyed at being caught than sorry for what she'd done. Every second felt like another knife in my back, but it was the coldness that got me. The absolute lack of regret. But the universe wasn't done with me yet. As I reached my car, a familiar voice called out. Nick, wait. I turned and saw Mark, a coworker from my office, jogging across the lot. He looked awkward, like he'd just walked into a crime scene, which, in a way, he had. Man. I I didn't want to say anything, but I saw Ashley here a few weeks ago. Same guy. Didn't seem like a business meeting, you know? He looked at the ground, embarrassed. I figured you knew. That was the punch I didn't expect. Not only had Ashley made me the joke of the restaurant, she'd been doing it long enough that my friends saw it and just assumed I was okay with it. How long had I been walking around blind while she played me for a fool? I thanked Mark, told him it wasn't his fault, and got in the car. But now the pieces started coming together. The late nights at work. The new perfume she'd started wearing, the sudden interest in gym memberships, the times she'd turn her phone face down when I entered the room. It was all there, right in front of me. I just didn't want to see it. I drove for hours that night. Through downtown, past the places where Ashley and I used to go when we still liked each other, when things were easy. I wasn't sad. Not really. What I felt was colder, sharper. I felt robbed, like someone had broken into my life and stolen years I could never get back. When I finally pulled up to our house, the lights were blazing. Ashley's car was already in the driveway. She was waiting for me, no doubt rehearsing some story, planning to turn things around, make herself the victim. She always did love a good performance. I sat in the car, watching the house. I thought about everything, about the man she was with, about how easily she lied to my face, about the fact that even when caught, her first instinct was to blame me for causing a scene. That's when something snapped. I wasn't going to be her doormat anymore. I wasn't going to play the fool she thought I was. I grabbed my phone and started typing, not to Ashley, but to a lawyer. I needed advice. I needed options. For the first time, I wasn't thinking about saving the marriage or forgiving her. I was thinking about how to protect myself. I finally stepped out of the car and walked to the front door. I wasn't sure what I was about to face, but I knew one thing for certain: I was done pretending. I was done letting her control the story. When I opened the door, Ashley was waiting in the hallway, eyes red, arms crossed, mouth set in a pout. She tried to speak, but I put up a hand to stop her. Not tonight. Tonight, it was my turn to write the next chapter. I didn't waste a second on greetings or fake concern. I shut the door behind me, tossed my keys on the table, and looked Ashley straight in the eye. She stood there, arms folded, like she was ready to put on another act. But this time, I was done playing her games. She tried first. "Nick, you embarrassed me tonight. You really couldn't hold it together in public? Do you know how humiliating that was, for me? That was it. Not, I'm sorry. Not, it's not what it looks like. Just pure, selfish anger because her secret got exposed." I almost laughed. "Yeah, Ash. Must have been hard for you. Getting caught kissing Brandon in front of a crowd." She rolled her eyes. "We're just friends. Why are you making this into some soap opera? Maybe if you paid more attention to me, I wouldn't need to find someone who actually listens." There it was, her favorite trick, flipping blame. As if all of this was my fault. I walked past her into the kitchen, letting her words bounce off me. I'd spent too long trying to make sense of her lies, trying to be the husband she'd never appreciate. She followed, the performance ramping up. "You've been distant for months, Nick. You work late, you don't talk to me, and when you're home, you barely look at me. Brandon just gets me, okay? He understands things you never did." I turned, meeting her glare with one of my own. "Does he get you enough to risk his jaw for you? Because if he shows his face near me again, he's going to need a dentist." She scoffed, unfazed. "Big talk. Real mature. Are you going to hit everyone you don't like? Grow up, Nick." My fists clenched, but I forced myself to stay calm. This wasn't about getting even with Brandon. He was just the symptom, Ashley was the disease. "You know what's funny, Ash?" I said, voice steady. "You could have just told me you were done. You could have ended it like an adult. Instead, you lied, you snuck around, and you made a fool out of me in front of the entire city." She glared, lips pressed tight. I'm not discussing this with you while you're being irrational. If you want to talk, calm down and act like a grown-up. I didn't take the bait. Save it. I already called a lawyer tonight. We're done. That finally got a reaction. Her mask slipped, just for a second. Fear flashed in her eyes. But it vanished just as quickly, replaced with that same cold arrogance. Fine. If that's what you want. Just remember, half of everything here is mine. Of course. Straight to money, like I was nothing more than a paycheck to her. I'd seen enough. I grabbed my phone, started snapping pictures of our valuables, logging everything she could try to take. She started to follow, trying to rant, but I cut her off. Don't talk to me unless it's about the divorce. I'm done listening to your stories. That shut her up. For now. I went to the guest room, slammed the door, and finally let the anger out. I smashed my fist against the mattress, not the wall. I'd learned better than to give her any more reasons to call me violent or unstable. I sat there in the dark, breathing hard, while my phone lit up with messages from friends who'd heard what happened. Support, gossip, shock, it didn't matter. My marriage was over. The only thing left was to make sure I got out clean. Ashley, meanwhile, stormed around the house, slamming doors, muttering to herself about starting over and taking what's hers. But I didn't care. Not anymore. Tonight, the games ended. Tomorrow, the real battle would begin. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ashley's smug face, heard her cold words, half of everything here is mine. It played on repeat, and every time, I got angrier. By sunrise, I was done feeling sorry for myself. I'd wasted enough years giving this woman the benefit of the doubt. The house was eerily quiet when I walked into the kitchen. Ashley was already gone, her car missing from the driveway. For a second, I hoped she'd run off for good, but her purse was still there. She never left without her purse. That meant one thing, she was planning something. I spent the morning calling lawyers, getting the rundown on what to expect, how to freeze joint accounts, what to document, what not to say. The advice was clear: protect yourself, and don't underestimate her. A spouse like this will try anything, the lawyer said. Be smart, and don't lose your cool. I took notes and made copies of every important document I could find: bank statements, mortgage papers, even Ashley's credit card bills. She'd racked up thousands in business dinners, spas, and mystery hotel bookings. The evidence was piling up. Around noon, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Heard what happened? Brandon isn't who you think he is. Watch your back. No name, no explanation. I stared at the screen, a fresh wave of anger rolling over me. Brandon. So he was more than just a fling. Maybe Ashley wasn't the only liar in this mess. Suddenly, the front door slammed. Ashley swept in like a hurricane, sunglasses on, hair perfect, phone glued to her ear. She paused when she saw me, then just sneered. Still here, she spat, dropping her keys onto the counter. Where else would I be? This is my house, I shot back. She hung up the call, instantly switching gears. Lawyer called. You're not getting everything you want, Nick. I have rights, too. And you'd better not try anything stupid with our accounts. I kept my voice ice cold. Already spoke to my attorney. Don't worry, I'm just making sure you can't clean us out before the paperwork's even filed. Ashley rolled her eyes, grabbing a coffee mug with one hand, texting with the other. God, you're so dramatic. Maybe if you put this much effort into our marriage, I wouldn't have had to find someone who actually cares. I laughed, really laughed. Yeah, you picked a real winner in Brandon. What, did you think you could keep him a secret forever? Or did you just get off on seeing how much you could get away with? She shot me a look so venomous it could have melted steel. At least Brandon listens. You just want someone to blame because you're too boring to keep me interested. Glad to be rid of you, then, I replied, letting the words cut. Let's make this quick. She sipped her coffee, eyes glinting with challenge. You're going to regret making this public, Nick. People talk. Your boss is going to love hearing about how unstable you are. There it was, her real play. Threats. Manipulation. I realized in that moment just how deep her cruelty went. She didn't care about me, the marriage, or even the divorce. She cared about winning. About making me pay. I smiled. You go ahead, Ash. But if you want to play dirty, remember, I've got plenty to say about where your business dinners really took place. That got her attention. For the first time, I saw her hesitate. Not for long, but enough. The first real crack in her armor. The doorbell rang before she could reply. I opened it to see a courier with a thick envelope, divorce papers. Ashley must have called her lawyer first thing. She smirked as I signed for the envelope. Game on, Nick. I closed the door, holding the papers in my hand, and realized she was ready for war. And so was I. The papers sat heavy in my hands, real, final, cold. No way out, no more pretending. Ashley wanted a war, and I was done holding back. I spent the afternoon on the phone with my lawyer, building my case. I forwarded the credit card records, the hotel receipts, and even the screenshots of Ashley's business dinner texts with Brandon. My lawyer said I had enough to prove infidelity, enough to keep my share safe, if I played it smart and stayed calm. Ashley, meanwhile, was in full performance mode. She started calling her friends, on speakerphone, loudly, so I could hear every word. She spun the story her way. I was unstable, controlling, a workaholic who drove her into Brandon's arms. She was afraid for her safety, she claimed. The irony was almost funny, if it hadn't been so infuriating. I got a call from HR at work. Someone had reported me for aggressive behavior at home. I recognized Ashley's handiwork instantly. She was using every trick in the book, trying to get ahead of my moves. I answered calmly, explained the situation, told them I was filing for divorce and would be happy to meet in person. My boss, Paul, sounded sympathetic. If you need time off, Nick, take it. Handle your business. I hung up, mind racing. Ashley was trying to ruin me before I could fight back. But two could play at that game. I started gathering witnesses. Mark from work agreed to write a statement about seeing Ashley with Brandon, more than once. I called up a few old friends who'd seen her out late, lying about her whereabouts. I didn't want to drag them in, but I needed the ammo. Ashley, meanwhile, kept parading around the house like she'd already won, shopping online, calling her mother, making sure everyone knew poor Ashley was the victim. That night, I found her in the living room, glass of wine in hand, laughing on FaceTime with Brandon. She didn't even bother to lower her voice. I can't wait until this is all over and we can finally go away together, she giggled, tossing her hair. Nick's trying to make my life hell, but I'm not worried. He can't prove anything. I stepped into the room, catching her eye in the reflection of the window. For a moment, she hesitated, but then she turned up the volume, letting Brandon's voice fill the house. Don't let him get to you, babe. Just get what you deserve and walk away. Ashley smiled, looking me dead in the eyes. Oh, I intend to. She ended the call with a loud, exaggerated kiss. I didn't flinch. I just walked over, set my phone on the table, and hit record. You're recording me now? Wow, Nick, that's low, even for you, she spat. I shrugged. Just want a record. So when you try to twist the truth, I've got proof. She stormed off, but I could tell she was rattled. The cracks were spreading. She wasn't untouchable, not anymore. The next morning, the Real bomb dropped. I got a call from my bank. Someone had tried to transfer $5,000 from our joint account to an offshore account. They flagged it and froze the account. But I knew exactly who'd tried to steal the money. I confronted Ashley in the kitchen. She didn't even deny it. She just glared at me, all fake innocence gone. You made this ugly, Nick. Don't blame me for playing to win. I laughed, cold and sharp. You lost the game the second you thought you could betray me and walk away clean. She stared at me, and for the first time, I saw something close to panic. This wasn't just a messy breakup anymore. This was a war. And I had no intention of losing. The panic in Ashley's eyes was the first honest thing I'd seen from her in weeks. But I knew better than to think she'd back down. If anything, my wife just switched tactics, no more petty jabs or half-hearted lies. She was out for blood. By noon, my phone was blowing up with calls from people I barely spoke to, mutual friends, old co-workers, even my own family. Ashley had sent out a mass message painting herself as the tragic heroine. Nick's lost it. I'm worried for my safety. He's trying to ruin me financially. Please support me during this scary time. The way she twisted the truth was almost impressive. Almost. Instead of arguing, I sent a single group text: if you want the real story, ask Ashley who Brandon is. The silence was deafening. Ashley stormed into my office, phone in hand, eyes blazing. What the hell do you think you're doing, Nick? You're making me look crazy. I stood up, matching her glare. You did that all by yourself. Keep talking, I've got nothing left to lose. She hesitated, and for a second I thought she'd crack, maybe apologize, maybe drop the act. But then the coldness was back. You always have to win, don't you? She spat. You can't just let me have anything. I shook my head. You had everything, Ashley. The house, the marriage, all of it. You threw it away for some cheap thrill with a guy who'd sell you out for a free drink. Her jaw tightened. You think you're so clever. Brandon's not going anywhere. Once this divorce is done, I'll be free to do whatever I want, and you'll be old news. I laughed, shaking my head. You're already old news to me. Have fun chasing a fantasy. That stung. For the first time, Ashley seemed genuinely shaken. She stared at me for a long moment, then left the room without another word. I watched her go, a strange sense of calm settling over me. For the first time since this nightmare began, I was in control. The next day, things got even messier. Ashley tried to change the locks on the house while I was at work, thinking she could freeze me out. Too bad I'd already called the locksmith and changed the security codes. She called the police, screaming about domestic threats. When the officers showed up, I calmly showed them the paperwork. The house was still in both our names, and Ashley's lies fell flat when they checked the facts. You really want to play dirty, Nick? She hissed as the officers left. Fine. Let's see how much dirt I can dig up on you. I shrugged. You won't find any. But I wonder what your boss would think about those hotel charges? That shut her up. I knew she'd been sneaking around on company time, billing her little adventures as business expenses. Suddenly, she had more to lose than just me. The final twist came that night. Brandon showed up at the house, unannounced, acting like he was some white knight there to protect Ashley. He tried puffing up his chest, getting in my face. Why don't you back off, man? She's with me now. I just looked him over, cheap suit, cheap cologne, fake bravado. Take her, I said, voice cold. She's all yours. Just remember, when the money runs out, so will she. Ashley screamed at me, calling me bitter, pathetic, jealous. I smiled, calm and collected, as I closed the door in both their faces. That night, for the first time in a long time, I slept soundly. Ashley could play all the games she wanted, she'd already lost the only thing that really mattered, my respect. If Ashley thought dragging Brandon into the house would break me, she underestimated just how finished I was with her circus. The next morning, I woke to find both of them still there, sprawled on the couch, acting like they owned the place. Ashley was loud on purpose, making coffee and giggling as Brandon pawed at her. She kept glancing over, waiting for me to explode or beg. I didn't give her the satisfaction. Instead, I quietly packed a bag and walked straight past them, heading to the office. As I left, Ashley shouted after me, don't bother coming back until you're ready to be reasonable." Her voice was shrill, echoing through the hallway. Brandon just laughed, obviously loving the drama. At work, I got more calls, friends, colleagues, even distant family, all wanting to know what was going on. Some believed her story at first, but the truth spread fast. The rumor mill turned, and pretty soon, nobody was buying Ashley's act anymore. Screenshots of her with Brandon started circulating. Mark, my coworker, let it slip to a few people that he'd seen Ashley out with Brandon for months. Her house of cards was starting to fall. By noon, I got an email from Ashley's boss. Apparently, my little hint about the hotel bills hit home. HR was reviewing her expense reports. She tried to call me, but I let it ring. For once, her tricks had real consequences. That afternoon, I visited my lawyer and signed the final documents. He looked them over, impressed. "You've covered every angle, Nick. She can't touch your assets now. And with all the evidence, she'll be lucky to walk away with her reputation intact." I felt lighter, like I'd shed a weight I'd been carrying for years. But Ashley wasn't done, not by a long shot. When I returned home to pick up more of my things, she was waiting for me, Brandon lurking in the kitchen behind her. Her face was red, eyes wild. She waved a stack of papers in my face. "You think you've won? You'll never see a cent from me. I'll make sure everyone knows you're the real problem." I stayed calm. "Do what you want. But after what you pulled, nobody's going to believe you. You burned every bridge, Ash. Enjoy the ashes." Brandon tried to puff up again, but I cut him off. "This isn't your fight, Brandon. You're just a footnote. She'll toss you out when she finds a richer fool." That got to him. He started arguing with Ashley, right there in the kitchen. Voices rose, accusations flew. Ashley screamed at him to leave. He threw his hands up and stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. For a moment, Ashley looked small. Defeated. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. But then the venom was back. "You're pathetic, Nick. You think you're so much better than me, but you're nothing without me." I just smiled, letting her words slide off. "You did me a favor, Ashley. You set me free." I left her standing there, clutching her useless threats, the echo of her rage ringing in my ears. I walked away, closing the door on a chapter of my life I should have ended years ago. Back at my new apartment, I poured a drink, sat by the window, and watched the city lights. It was quiet, peaceful, no shouting, no drama. Just me and a world of new possibilities. Ashley was finally out of my life. And for the first time in years, I felt alive. The first weekend alone in my new apartment felt unreal, like I was on vacation from my own life. There was no screaming, no threats, no lies echoing down the hallway. Just quiet, and the hum of the city outside my window. I found myself noticing small things again: how good fresh coffee smells, how sunlight looks when it isn't filtered through paranoia and stress. The paperwork went through faster than I'd expected. My lawyer called Monday morning, voice upbeat. "Congratulations, Nick. You're officially divorced. She settled on your terms." The words hit me like a splash of cold water. It was over. The war was done. I thought I'd feel empty, but all I felt was relief. I spent the next few days cleaning up the mess she left behind, closing joint accounts, changing passwords, selling the things that had meant something only to her. I donated half her closet to charity, just to make space for air. Every small act felt like peeling away another layer of her poison. People started reaching out, some to apologize for believing Ashley, others just curious about the drama. I didn't bother with explanations. My circle got smaller, but it felt real for the first time in years. Even Mark, my usually reserved coworker, invited me out for a drink. "You're free, man," he grinned. "Don't waste it." Meanwhile, word got around about Ashley's antics. Her boss didn't just review her expense reports, they fired her. She tried to paint herself as the victim, but the evidence was stacked too high. Brandon, predictably, vanished the second her life got complicated. Last I heard, he was dating someone else and telling everyone he'd dodged a bullet. Ashley tried texting, then calling, then showing up at my new place. The first time, she demanded money. The second time, she tried crying. By the third time, she tried threatening me with public exposure, but I'd already sent everything to my lawyer and blocked her number. All I felt watching her walk away for the last time was relief. The hardest part was adjusting to the silence in my head. No more replaying arguments, no more wondering if I'd done enough. It hit me how much of my life had been about managing her moods, her lies, her endless drama. Without it, I actually had to figure out who I was again. So I started new routines. I went to the gym, took late-night walks, bought food I actually liked. I found an old guitar in a pawn shop and started teaching myself to play, something I'd always wanted to do, but never had time for when Ashley was around. I even booked a short trip up the coast, just me, no destination, no timeline. Freedom wasn't loud, it was quiet, steady, and real. Looking back, I realized I'd spent years trying to fix someone who didn't want to be fixed. Ashley wasn't just a liar or a cheater, she was a master manipulator, always twisting things to get her way, always making me feel like I wasn't enough. Letting go of her wasn't just a victory in court, it was a win for my soul. If I had advice for anyone stuck in a situation like mine, it would be this: don't wait for a dramatic ending. Don't keep hoping they'll change. Don't sacrifice your sanity just to avoid being alone. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is walk away, no matter how much it hurts, no matter what you lose in the process. Because real peace isn't found in fixing someone else's mess. It's found in reclaiming your own life, one honest step at a time.